Welcome back, Illumineers. Today's the last day with the last set review. We're going to be reviewing the Steel ink, and very similar to the first set, Steel is very strong. Um, and so I expect to see a lot of these cards across the table from me uh, till we start set 3. Alright, so first up we have Beast Foreboding Recluse. Um, this is a fine common. I played with him in draft. Excuse me. His stats are fine. He pings a character for 1. Ping is a term for dealing 1 damage to something. Um, now, I will say, depending on your metagame, if you have a lot of Lilos and a lot of Maleficent biding her times and Pinocchios, um, playing this version actually is really good. Um, Otherwise, most of the time you can deal with your problems in combat or with your or in challenges while you're dealing with others. While you're dealing with other cards, with your fire the cannons and your smashes, etc. So he's not bad, but he's not an all-star either. You may see him sneak into constructed decks, but he's very good and limited. Next up is a Beast Selfless Protector. So this is another beast at a higher rarity, super rare. 6 costs for 2/8, and whenever one of your other characters would be dealt damage, put that many damage counters on this character instead. So basically, he's protection for the rest of your crew. Um, Now, Grab Your Swords may end up attempting to wipe your board, and instead all of the damage goes on Beast, which is fine, but the rest of your characters are saved. Um, but, even incidental combat, it's like, oh, I can't take this character out because it has to go to Beast. So, in the right meta, this is a very powerful card. Or if we ever get sideboards, um, hopefully we'll know something soon about um, how their official tournament formats are. And our third beast, Beast Tragic Hero. So this is the legendary. 5 for a 3/5 and 2 lures, not bad. Shift of 3, so it's a cheap shift cost. At the start of your turn, if this character has no damage on it, draw a card. Otherwise, he gets +4 strength. So being able to draw the cards, Steel doesn't have a way to draw cards normally, so this is actually really good um, if he somehow remains undamaged each turn. Um, so if you're playing him, your goal is you want to quest with him and you want to quest bodyguards to force your opponent to take out your bodyguards, or maybe have the previous beast in play and then this beast in play at the same time where all the damage goes on the beast. Um, Even if you're in a situation where, oh, my opponent hits this beast but can't take him out in one challenge. Now you have a 7 strength beast that can take out almost any character in the game on the swing back. Um, Also gets very interesting with healing shenanigans, both Sapphire and Amber. Benja, Guardian of the Dragon Gem. Um, so this is a cheaper cost um, beast, 5-drop beast from set 1. Um, he's a 2/3 instead of a 4/4. They both had 2 lore. Um, and there's more items in this set that are seeing play, particularly the Popsicle deck. Um, I have seen steel decks already packing 4 Benja and 4 Beast at 5, just so they have 8 ways to get rid of your card, get rid of your items. Uh, so the um, um, so the item hate has begun. Um, you're going to see a lot of this character, um, simply because of the current meta. Um, when there becomes less item based decks, you may see this not be included. What's nice about this card is it's a 3 cost body that produces 2 lore and is inkable, so you don't have to worry about it being a dead card and not usable, which is what was good about the 5 cost beast as well. More than likely, you're going to see a lot of this guy um, for the time being. Um, all right, next up, Chief Bongo, respected officer. Um, so, not inkable is a worry. 2/4 is not a great body. Um, most steel characters you usually seeing uh, more strength, but you'll also see a lot of high willpower too. Does quest for 2, and is another when you play a Floodborn character triggers. Um, this one is actually ridiculous because it's deal 1 damage to each opposing character. So this is like a reusable Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. um, every time that you play a Floodborn character. Depending on the deck build, might actually be very, very good. Um, Again, as we have more Floodborns cards printed, um, and depending on how the metagame shifts from week to week or set to set, this could be a very good option for steel based decks. All right, Cinderella Knight in Training. She's also a promo card for your organized play league kits. Um, so this is a slightly better, excuse me, um, Simba from set 1. Simba is a 1 cost and a 1/2. And Cinderella is a 2 cost, 2/2. Both quest for 1. Um, when you play this, you may draw a card and then choose and discard a card. Same ability. Um, Traits of hero, princess, and knight. So we've seen Cinderella number 2 in Amber, the 1 drop that sings for 3. This is the third Cinderella. Um, it's a fine card. It does what it needs to do. Early game, it lets you um, dig for important cards in certain matchups. Um, Similar to what you do when you try to mulligan. You want to mulligan for certain cards, hoping that you'll have them in your starting hand. But if not, Cinderella helps you dig deeper. Um, in the Steel Song decks, she um, also can draw you extra cards with Stitch Rockstar. And then, but the other reason that you're playing this version is Cinderella Steelhearted. Um, so this is a Floodborn 7 cost inkable 5/5 3 lore. You can shift her for 5. Has resist +2. And whenever you play a song, this character may challenge ready characters this turn. Um, so honestly, I would be playing this card just for the body. you can shift for 5 onto another Cinderella, whether that's the 1 cost one or the 2 cost one. That because those two are seeing play right now. 5/5 with resist +2 means if they don't have a way to dragon fire it off the table, they're having to put 7 damage on it at once to get rid of it. 3 lore is fantastic, and then the ability is just extra at this point. Um, yes, she works out great uh, in the Steel Song deck with Amber because you're already playing a lot of songs, particularly many of them uh, did either cost 3 or 5. So she slots right in. Now, I've heard people say um, that you shouldn't be playing this card right now because it's not the right metagame. But honestly, stat lines, shift costs, the resist bonus, 3 lore, and then you're already playing it in a deck that can trigger it if necessary. I'm sorry, what's not to like? Um, Donald Duck. Um, this one is another flavored Cerberus from the first set. Uh, Decent card for limited, not much else. Ila LaBouffe, Big Daddy. Um, Here again, not uh, nothing to write home about. It's a vanilla character that plays way better in limited than anywhere else. Goofy Night for a Day. Okay, so the ridiculous stats on this thing. Um, Steel now has a a 10/10 with four lore. Um, I don't even know how many games in limited you'd get to play this. Um, uh, this is cute. Um, Even turbo ramping, I don't know if you'd want to play a vanilla 10/10 with 4 lore. I mean, Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor is seeing less and less play, and he's got 4 lore and is evasive. So, yeah. Um, Again, cute. I don't think it's worth a deck slot. Hercules, Divine Hero. So here's another Floodborn. A 6/3 with 2 lore can be shifted into play for 4. Um, has resist +2. So he's got to be dealt 5 damage in one swing to be taken off the board. Um, this is fine. I think in a more steel heavy, damaged based meta, you would see more copies of this card being played because resist +2 is fairly large. It shrugs off fire the cannons. You only take 1 from smash. You take none from one of the new songs that we'll get to here shortly. So it does a lot, and it shrugs off a lot of combat. So again, I think this one has a specific place in a specific meta. Um, and uh, Another vanilla Hercules. Um, this gives us 2 Hercules to shift that one onto. Um, I don't really consider this playable in anything but limited, but I will call out the interesting flavor text. And if you can read Roman numerals, that is hilarious. All right, Jafar got a couple of copies in this set. Uh, we got Royal Vizier, a 2/3/2 with one lower, and during your turn it has evasive. Um, Again, it's nice to see that there are a few more cards that have evasive on your turn so that you can at least attempt to challenge um, evasive characters, because if you don't have a way to deal with them, you're in trouble. And then the Jafar Dreadnought, Floodborn, shift for 2. So the other copy costs 2, and then you can shift this on for 2. 3, 4. This is a inline. 4 costs 3, 4, 1 lower. For shift 2, it's actually really good. During your turn, when this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may draw a card. So again, you've got another card that helps with card draw based on challenges. So you've got this Jafar. You have the Queen of Hearts, the Shift Queen of Hearts, that does the same thing in Ruby. Um, Only that one kicks in when challenging. This does when banishing. Um, but it certainly lets you at least can get some card parity, where this card replaces itself if it dies in the if you're banished in a challenge, and if you get more than one, fantastic. Kronk, Junior Woodchuck. Um, so this is another decently statted character with a resist +1, 2 lore, really good. Uh, Whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may have it deal 2 damage to chosen character. So he's basically the other half of Tinkerbell, Giant Fairy. As a matter of fact, I think they have the same stats here and here. The resist +1 is actually um, somewhat nice against opposing Tinkerbells, or even grab your swords, um, and other damage based removal. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to replace Giant Tink, but he does give you a budget option if you can't afford the Giant Tinks, although prices are going down with more restocks, so that's a good thing. Lawrence, Jealous Manservant. This was actually a fine card in limited. A 4/4 for 2 lore, as long as he's undamaged, was really good. Now, the shenanigans happen when you get to pair it with a color ink that heals. Doubtful that you'll see this in a constructed format, but a fantastic limited card. Li Shang, Archery Instructor. 5 cost for a 3/6. Stats are fine there. In line with Maleficent Uninvited. 2 lore. It's pretty good. When this character quests, your characters can evasive this turn. So it gives Steel another card to help them deal with evasive. It's nice that they use Li Shang from Mulan. Obviously, the archers have to think fast, shoot fast, etc. And since they're shooting a bunch of arrows and stuff, they can they see the hail of fire of arrows and go, oh, they're right there, and catch up with the evasives. Again, fine card if you need a way to get rid of evasives in character combat. This is a pretty good way to do it. In all honesty, he fit better in limited, but still very good design. Magic Broom Industrial Model. We got more brooms. Fantastic. Sorcerer Mickey is pleased. So this is a 3 cost, 2/3, 1 lore, and you will play this character. Chosen character gains resist +1 until the start of your next turn. So this lasts your turn cycle and your opponent's turn cycle. Um, Again, right now we have 2 sets of brooms now, and and Sorcerer Mickey from Fantasia. So now we um, may have additional stuff. This was great and limited. The resist +1 is actually quite helpful to let you challenge into characters and leave your character um, in play when banishing while banishing the other character. Um, until we get a larger number of brooms or more broom related cards, this one may sit on the sideline in your box until later, though. All right, now our first legendary, or other legendary, excuse me, Namari, the Morning Mist, 4 cost, non-inkable, 2/4, 1 lore, bodyguard, and this character can challenge ready characters. Villain Princess. So this is the one of the new villain princesses that from Raya and the Last Dragon. Okay, so this has a lot on it. Bodyguard lets you protect things that need to be protected. Fantastic. Uh, the ability to challenge ready characters. I can see in certain metas where this is very powerful, similar to the Cinderella that we saw earlier. Um, we don't currently, most characters are not being left up, are left in ready state until they can literally challenge, or until they can literally quest. Now, 2/4 is not the greatest stats, so she's going to need help to banish any character of any necessity. Like she can't even banish Cheshire Cat, the 3-drop. She can't banish Cusco. She can't banish the 5-drop Aurora that gives everybody else ward. Um, Cogsworth, no one of value. She can do it by herself. She's going to need a strength pump of some sort, or a support bump, and get somebody give her support and then let her use it. I'm not completely sold on this character, but it's very basic, but it's something that the game will need at some point to be able to deal with characters that you don't want to challenge with or quest with. Paka, village leader. Um, he was fun to play in limited. Uh, Odd stat line. But other than that, just passing through the Emperor's New Groove. Prince Naveen. So this has the same stats as Horus, and Horus doesn't see play. So, yeah. Queen of Hearts, Capricious Monarch. 7 cost inkable, 5/6, 1 lore, a villain queen. Whenever an opposing character is banished, you may ready this character. Okay, so there's less shenanigans that you can do with this character than you could with Beast Relentless. But only because, excuse me, um, only because Beast Relentless does it on damage, and Beast Relentless had 2 lore. Um, but granted, if you wanted to quest with her and then challenge and banish an opposing character with one of yours, ready her, quest again, you could absolutely do it. And in all honesty, if you wanted to build a Sapphire and Steel deck that ran multiple Eye of the Fates, you could definitely give her two, three, four lore and do some crazy amount of damage in a turn, either by playing your cannons and your smashes and grab your swords. Um, and she can obviously sing any song, particularly any song that would remove a character, and then you get to ready her. So free singing is another ability. Now, admittedly, compared to Beast Relentless, this one's a little flat, but the ability is ripe for abusing in the right format. Robin Hood, capable fighter. Again, this is another one of the promos as well. 2 cost unequal 1/3 with 1 lore. Exert, deal 1 damage to chosen character. uh, so I will tell you that I played an Emerald Steel deck this past event, um, and I made it very difficult on my aggro opponents to keep a character in play. Um, they could play Simba and force me to bodyguard, challenge Simba or remove Simba. But when I had these out, it's like I don't care about Simba. Let's just take him out. Take that character out. Take this character out. Was he really effective? In certain matchups, he was really effective. And being able to have one or more of these characters in play made it a lot easier for me to take care of characters that I normally would not be able to with one card. Um, Also, I was playing the Shift Cheshire Cat. So if there was a problematic character that actually had high toughness, I could just ping it and remove it. But in any event, this was actually better. It played better than I thought it would, and was very painful for my opponents to deal with in limited. And it's great into the aggro environments where they have less willpower. Um, don't be surprised to see this in constructed. The Huntsman, reluctant enforcer. So stats are not great whatsoever. Again, another card that could be pinged by Robin Hood. It does quest for 2, and when he quests, you may draw a card and then discard a card. So he's the quest version of Cinderella. Cinderella somehow has better stats than us, which is absolutely hilarious. Other than the lore. Um, um, Personally, if I want the looting mechanic where I draw and discard, again, that goes back to an old magic card called Merfolk Looter that does this ability. If I want this, I would rather have this on a character I can on play rather than on quest, um, because this stat line is not it is a little scary, um, depending on the deck and the format. I like that it's 2 lore, but it's hard for me to. Yeah, you want to quest with this. I mean, but uh, is the additional looting worth playing? This is a card you probably played, whether you played in a starter deck tournament, a draft. Um, You may have seen it in Constructed already, but um, the Prince Never Give Up. So definitely has a weak stat line as far as strength goes. But Bodyguard and Resist +1, and he quests for 2, mean that your opponent has to really, really work on resources to get this off the table. Um, so typically, anything less than a Dragonfire or Maleficent, um, most of the other things are going to be damage based and are going to shrink damage. Uh, and it's going to take multiple attackers usually to challenge him. Um, Rare exception is like Gaston from set 1, that's a 4-2. Um, but being able to quest for 2 lore actually makes it very viable because you want to be questing with him every turn. So he's going to be protecting every turn. And this combination of resist plus 3 willpower is fantastic. Um, Pair that with other resist abilities, like maybe you're playing Steel Sapphire with the Cogsworth. Now he has resist +2. Cogsworth is protected because they can't get to him, and Lord knows what will happen. So again, there are scenarios. I, I like what this bodyguard wants to do. Tiana, Celebrating Princess, 4 cost 1/4. Again, the strength stat line is not great. Resist +2, so she has to take 6 in one shot to get her off the board. 2 lore, you want to be questing with her. While this character is exerted and you have no cards in hand, opponents can't play actions. So they can't play actions and they can't play songs. They can play items, they can play characters. Now, how useful is this? um, she does. If your hand is empty, she shuts down Steel Song. They cannot play any of their songs. They can only play characters out. And getting her off the board is a momentous task. And if you're playing Steel, if you can play your songs and level their board, it's going to be dang near impossible for them to come back. Now, again, she may not be right for the current uh, meta that we're seeing. And I don't think you can just throw her in any steel deck because you can't ink her. Her stats are not menacing, um, at least in the challenge department. Although resist makes it difficult to remove her. So I think there has to be a certain dex to take advantage of her ability. So here is her common version. Again, this is the snowman body. Snowman referring to Olaf was the first 1 cost 1/3 with 1 lore spoiled from set 1. Not much to see here. Now we get into actions. Charge. Chosen character gets Challenger +2 and Resist +2 this turn. So this is an inkable action. It buffs your strength of your Challenger and gives you resist bonus. Now, a card like this into uh, into characters that already have resist, or even characters without resist, that lets you take an opponent's character off the board via a challenge and prevents the damage on your character is a huge bonus. I will say in limited, this was quite good, um, because now you get to take out one of my better cards for 2 resources, and your character's still there, and I have to deal with your character next turn. Um, Constructed playable, that is to that is to be seen. I haven't seen many actions at all being played that weren't songs so far, with some rare exceptions. Let the storm rage on. So when I was talking about some new songs in steel, this is one of the two I was talking about. So this is a non-inkable 3 cost, deals 2 damage to chosen character and draws a card. So your 1 drop Cinderella can sing it. Um, and it replaces itself. So it's a cantrip. Again, magic related term from the old days. Um, 2 damage usually is enough to take a lot of the 1 cost and 2 cost characters off the table. Some of the 3 cost. Um, Usually from 4 up, you're going to need more damage. But it's great early game, and since it can be sung, and the draw card replacing itself is fantastic. Again, Steel Song's already playing this. Expect to see a lot of this, simply because you can do it for free. Pick a fight. 2 cost, non inkable action. Chosen character can challenge ready characters this turn. So, in my opinion, if we get to a meta where they're leaving their characters up, um, Namari is not really the body that you want to be doing the challenging with. Um, it's going to either be Cinderella or it's going to be pick a fight. Wreck It Ralph here is ready to wreck it. Also, I'm happy that we got a Pixar in so early. I wasn't expecting that for a while. Um, but yeah, granted, if this was a song instead of an action, this would be, I won't say an autoclude, but it'd be dang near close. Um, Again, I don't think we've evolved to the point in a format where we necessarily need this right now. But I like having the tool in the tool belt. Strength of Raging Fire. I'm gonna make a man out of you. Um, Thank you, Milan. By the way, this artwork is Chef's Kiss. 3 cost inkable action song. Deal damage to chosen character equal to the number of characters you have in play. So, in an aggressive deck, where you're trying to go 1 drop into 2 drop into 3 drop, or 1 drop into 2 1 drops into a 2 drop and a 1 drop, whatever, where you're going to have a ton of characters out, this is going to do a lot of damage. We have our 1 drop Cinderella that can play it on turn 2. Probably don't want to do it that early. Um, Now, obviously, it scales up really well, but it doesn't. But at some point, grab your sword, giant tank, and be prepared are going to wreck your world. And then this card is not going to be nearly as useful. Um, So I expect to see this in. It's already in Steel Song, a small number of copies, 1 to 2 copies so far. Um, you don't want to go completely overboard with it, but it's a song that can be searched for um, with Ariel Spectacular Singer and is inkable. So at some point, I could see you playing 3 to 4 copies of this, even if you're not going to be able to play it efficiently every time. Um, but to me, it wants decks that can spam the field, and Steel Song absolutely can do that. All right, lastly, we have our items. Last Cannon. This is a limited card only. Um, and I'll be honest, I didn't even when I ended up with a couple of these as last picks, and I didn't even put any of them in my deck because I didn't end up with any of the item shenanigans um, with Judy Hopps or Flavisham. Uh, so it was not an ability I used. Limited is about as far as I would even think about this, but I'm not even a fan of limited. Mouse armor. Um, this was a great deep cut. Um, 2 cost uninkable. Exert chosen character gains resist +1 until the start of your next turn, so it's persistent across both turns. Um, this is an interesting item, and again, I could see this in particular metas where steel based, damage based decks are prevalent in the metagame, and you want a way to counter that. Um, right now, Steel Song is good, but it does have problems. And then lastly is weight set. So this is an inkable item. When you play a character with 4 or more strength, you may pay 1 to draw a card. So we've had a cycle of these. We've had Maurice's Workshop that draws off of items, Ursula's Shell Necklace that draws off of songs, um, and this one draws off of strong characters. Um, so obviously, I do expect there to be more of these type effects. Um, personally, though, I don't see where some of these fit in specific decks, obviously. So it's not going to be across. You could just see 4 copies of this in like 6 of the top 8 decks. Um, but it's definitely worth experimenting with, particularly as the card pool grows. All right, guys, that's it for Rise of the Floodborn. That's all I've read in color. Um, so starting next week, I will be returning to my budget series. So I can give folks budget options for deck building in Rise of the Floodborn. Until next time, no matter the game, there is no escape.